fortunate to have with us His Grace Atul Krishna Prabhu from Sridham Mayapur. Prabhu is going to join by 5:20. So meantime, we will have a kirtan. So I request Her Grace Raturupini Mataji to start the kirtan. Raturupini Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Danat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna. Pranam. Please continue, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. बोलो श्री श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna, Rudrabini Mataji.
Thank you.
Gaura, all the devotees. Thank you so much for your wonderful kirtan. Hare Hare Krishna. Today we are very fortunate to have with us His Grace Atul Krishna Prabhu from Sridham Mayapur. Atul Krishna Prabhuji joined ISKCON Melbourne in the year 1985, where he served as a book distributor and a fundraiser from 1986 to 1996. He joined the Bangladesh Yatra in the year 1996 and preached village to village for 4 years, during which he learned fluent Bengali. He began teaching in the Mayapur Institute from 2000 onwards. He teaches in both Bengali and English. He teaches Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, teaches training course throughout India, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia, Australia, and the Middle East. Currently, Prabhuji serves as the chairman of the ISKCON Board of Examiners, which sets standard for Shastric study courses in ISKCON. And many times, Prabhu visited Gaurangadesh Yatra, and most of the devotees from Gaurangadesh Yatra are the student of Prabhuji. Once again, thank you so much for joining with us, Prabhuji. Over to you. Hare Krishna. His Grace Atul Krishna
I'll use-
Prabhu ki jai. Srila
You
Prabhupada ki jai.
kindly indicate that you can hear me, because I'll use the mic. And
Yes,
it'll be
yes,
better.
we can hear.
I won't be able to hear you, so you have to show me. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Can you hear me like that with the
Yes,
mic?
yes, we can hear. It is audible.
Monday, aham Sri Guru Sri Dutta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Shagarajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vidam Tam Kshajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shibishakam Vidam Shtam Mantra Guru Ajota Shiga Guru Ganta Chadane Yagi Kari Abandan Manchaka Putru Vyashtaka Pashan Vivasha Paditanam Pavaneva Vaishnava Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shramati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharini Nirvisheshashan Prashtata Deshatani. In his it's Gaurangadesh. I did it when I saw the letters. I was thinking, okay, whoever this is, but now I know it's Gaurangadesh. So I know everybody. I saw all my students doing kirtan there. All right. I haven't seen them in a long time. Oh, what was that? Phew. Yeah, anyway. So now I know who you are. So I'll just begin. I need to get to know each other. When Nima was young, he didn't listen to the instructions of Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra. He ignored them completely, but he became very, very respectful to Vishwarup. And all the Vaishnavas, they had a great attachment for Vishwarup. He would come every day to the house of Sri Advaita Acharya. And when he would come into Advaita Acharya's Shobha, then Advaita Acharya would stop doing his puja, and he would get up and embrace Vishwarup. And then all of the Vaishnavas, when they saw that, they would say, Hari, Hari. And Advaita Acharya would roar when he would hear Vishwarup discuss Krishna Katha. And then Vishwarup took sannyas, and it was so painful for all the devotees. He just left, and he's performing Leela there. He's serving the Lord, because later Sachimata, she referred to that. Don't do like Vishwarup. And Mahaprabhu, when he was in South India, he said, I'm going to search out Vishwarup, my older brother. So Vishwarup needed to take sannyas, so that for many aspects of Mahaprabhu's subsequent Leela. And after taking sannyas, Vishwarup, Nimai, he was such an ideal child, because he just wanted to appease the pain of Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata that Vishwarup had just suddenly gone, and then they never heard anything of him again. Can you imagine that? The oldest son, he just goes and that's it. Then no one ever hears anything about it except that he's taken sannyas. I mean, how painful would that be? And in order to try to console Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata, Nimai is just being an ideal student, and he's studying so wonderfully that everyone's glorifying him, all of the people. Dekiya apura babuti shabai prashangshay shabai bale donna pita donna pita mata heno bangshay. So that such a child, Pita Mata Heno Bangshe Donno, the father and mother of that child have they're truly blessed. The father and mother of that child are truly blessed. We're reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, from Srila Vrindavan Thakur. This is Adikanda, chapter number 8. Not number 8, yeah. Eboro nigudda kota shuno egmone Krishna bhakti shiti hoy iha shrabone. Iha shrabone, just by hearing this description, this nigudda kota, this confidential description. Krishna bhakti shiti hoy. You get perfection in Krishna consciousness just by hearing this. So because Nimai, he was like just being such an ideal child and studying so wonderfully, and everyone was glorifying him. Everyone in the family was happy, except Jagannath Mishra, because he started to think that, they're glorifying his intelligence and his learning. And if this boy, if he becomes learned like Vishwarup, then he'll also understand that as Vishwarup learned as a result of Gyan, Shastra Gyan, he learned that the material world is illusory, and the pleasure that it provides is not worth the effort that it takes. You have to put in to get it, and you get better, more pleasure if you put effort into Sharan Bhakti and you awaken Krishna consciousness. So Krishna Bhakti Siddhi Hoy, just by hearing this Leela, you can attain that that perfection. But yeah, anyway, Jagannath Mishra was worried that Nimai would become learned, and then he'll realize that the material world is false enjoyment, and so he'll take sannyas and he'll leave us. And if he leaves, then it'll be intolerable. I mean, already we lost Vishwarup. Nimai, he's everything to us. If he leaves, so then all of a sudden one day Jagannath Mishra says to Nimai, says, from today onwards, my son, you will not study. I forbid you to study. And Nimai accepted the order of his father. But then he became very mischievous because, he's like a Brahmin and he's like mine. He was very satisfied. He liked study. Srila Vrindavan Thakur, he explains that Navadipe hoite lok, Chatu dike hoite lok, Navadipe jai, Navadipe porile shay, Biddorash pai. Navadipe porile. If you study in Navadip and Biddorash pai, then you can get a taste for study. And scripture in Navadip is available. So therefore, Chatur Dike Hoite Lok Navadip Jai. From all directions, people would come to Navadip. So learning, was that was so predominant. And then Jagannath Mishra, he says that, and then Sachimata, she says, no, we have to educate him. how are we getting married? How's he going to maintain his livelihood? And then Jagannath Mishra points over the village to where there's so many scholars and pandits, and they're all lined up to get alms from a merchant who can't even sign his name. He uses his thumbprint. So he's saying, what is the use of learning? If Krishna will maintain you, he'll maintain you whether you study or not. So my child will stay at home. Whatever you require, I'll provide you to stay home comfortably. But Nimai became mischievous because actually he enjoyed study. And so not being able to absorb his mind in the learning, he became mischievous. And at night he would put a blanket over his body with another boy, and they would raid the banana plantations, and they would tie the homes, they would tie the outside rope outside the doors so they couldn't get out at night to relieve themselves. And this way he was very mischievous. And Jagannath Mishra one day, he went away for some work, so Nimai decided to make a big protest. And he climbed up on the pots, which are used for where the discarded pots which have been used for cooking for Lord Vishnu have subsequently been discarded. And so there's a cooking, sword and everything. So he climbed up on those pots. And the ladies, they informed Sachimata that, your son has climbed up on the pots in that way. And she became very upset, and she went there. And she saw Nimai was sitting up on those unclean pots, and he looked like a golden doll because he's Gauranga, golden lipped. And as he climbed up those pots, the soot on the pots, it smudged on his golden limbs. So he looked like a golden doll with a chandan, with the dark chandan on his body. He looked very beautiful sitting there. And Sachimata, she chastises him. And it's interesting, the reference to which she chastises him. She says that you cannot distinguish between clean and unclean. What sort of a Brahmin boy are you? So that's very interesting. It just gives us an idea of the type of elevated nature of the society in which Sri Sachinandan appeared and performed his pastimes. That for the Brahmins, their main principle in life is maintaining cleanliness standards. There's puja, there's a Brahminical Vaishnava family. That's what the standard they were like. Can you imagine what they were like 500 years ago? Like an ISKCON temple, but 100 times more strict. And Nimai's getting trained in those things, so she immediately challenged. She chastises him that you don't understand it. That's in the West. The most this is why the Western world is degraded. India is elevated place only because of Varnashram Dharma, if that's existent, if there's Brahminical training, which you'll only find in India. But if it's not there, then it's not much better than the West. But in the West, even a most highly situated person, a chief executive of a company, he will eat and not wash his hands. They don't understand. In Gita, Krishna says that na socham na chapicha charo. The demons, this is the asura, this is the way they behave. They don't know what is clean. And we can see here that this is a very serious thing that Nimai climbed up. So then at first, Nimai says that, if you don't allow me to study, then how am I to understand the difference between clean and unclean? And so I'm going to stay here until you allow me to study. And, Sachimata is saying, no, you have to come down. This is no place for you have to take a bath now. And then by this time, because this is being heard through the village, and the village ladies gathered around, and then they said that, Nimai, actually carry on doing what you're doing. We totally approve of your protest. And we have to drag our sons to the school. And then your son wants to study, and then you're not letting him study. Nimai, you sit there as long as it takes, and we fully support you. And in this way, he carries on with philosophy. And then he goes on to say that, first of all, he says, if you don't, then he says that actually he starts talking from the point of view of the Supreme Brahman. And he says that actually unclean and clean, they're simply, they're simply illusion. It's all one. And, he's saying this amazing philosophy. This is like similarly in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami explains one time that Sri Sachimata, she bought some sandesh for Shuchinandan to eat. And then she went and came back a little later and she saw he was eating dirt. And then he explained that Kai Shandesh Anna Jotek Mati Arabikar Ehomati Sheti Mati Ki Bed Vichar. That Kai on the Shandesh Jotek Mati Arabikar. All of this, whether it's rice or whether it's sandesh or whether it's sweets, Jotek, all of it, Mati Arabikar. It's all just transformations of dirt, of clay. Ehomati, Shehomati, Kibed Bicha. This is mud, that's mud. He's looking at the pot, he's saying, this mud, and then over there's mud. He's looking at the sandesh and he's saying that's mud, and he's looking at the earth and he's saying that's mud. Kibed Bicha. What is the difference? So this is astounding that Prabhupada says he's espousing Mayavad philosophy. And Sachimata, she defeats him by explaining that actually if you bring water from the river in the mud, it'll just get mixed in, it'll just be like all drippy mud. You have to change the mud and mortar into clay and dry it and change it, and then you can use it as a pot. This is not all one. Things have different uses, and you can't just eat dirt. You have to eat sandish. So then Satyananda says, "Oh, why you didn't explain this to me before?" And in this way, and he's just looking like a little child, little 2 or 3 year old, a little 3-year-old, 4-year-old boy, just saying all things that they say. Can you? What's that? Well, everything is the supreme. Everything is one. There's no. Like that. And then he says that actually I'm Vishnu, and when anything that comes in touch with me is totally pure. There's no question of me being contaminated. He starts talking from the point of view of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the whole time, Sachimata, she's completely confused. She's completely in Yogamaya. She's not thinking he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he's talking this philosophy. She just says, "You come down now, child. Your father will be home soon." So this Sachimata, she's the same Jashoda. When Jashoda, when Gopal, he comes and he sits on the lap of Mother Jashoda and he displays the universal form. Then at that time, Mother Jashoda, she contemplates a little bit about her position in the ultimate reality, and then she says, "Oh, well, this is your child. You have to feed him milk." She just Kebal Shuddha Premashajana Jane. Mahaprabhu and Rupshika explains to Rupa Goswami. Ashajadekleyo. Even if the Lord shows his opulence, in this case, he displayed the universal form in his mouth. She only thinks I'm his mother, he's my son. So that's same about Majasura is here, Sachimata. He's saying these things, but she's thinking, "Oh, my son." She can't think of anything else. One time in a dream, one Brahmin appeared to Jagannath Mishra and he said, "Mishra, that you're trying to correct your son. He's beyond correction. He's the reservoir of ultimate conclusions and Vedic knowledge. He's on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Mishra bole, Dev Shidhi Muni Keni Noi, Jay She Bodohok, Matro Ama Tanoi. That Dev Shidhi Muni Keni Noi. He might be a Shidhi, a perfected being, a Muni, a great sage, Deb, or the Lord himself. Keni Noi, why not? Jay She Bodohok, no matter how big he is, Matro Amar Tanoi. As far as I'm concerned, he's my son, and I have to give him an education. This is because these people are so much absorbed in that Rosha, this Botsalya Rosh, they're so much absorbed in that they're playing such an important role. They're sustaining the Leela. I mean, if they would all of a sudden say, "Oh, yeah, but you're God," and we're just hanging out. No, they're just completely absorbed. It's real. It's more real than the so-called reality we have in this material world. And Srila Vrindavan Thakur is allowing us to experience that reality through hearing. So the friends of Jagannath Mishra, they'd also, when he'd come back by this time, and the friends, they gather and they say, "Jagannath Mishra, why have you done this? This is foolish thing. You're a wise man. Your son, he's very good, intelligent, and he desires to be educated. You initiate him with you choose a suitable day, and you initiate him with the sacred thread and begin his education again." Just 1 minute. So they all advised him to do that. Now it's interesting to note how Jagannath Mishra responded to their advice. He didn't try to defend his position in any way. He said that Mishra bole, Tomar param bandhugon, Tomar jay bola shay amar bachon. Tomar param bandhugon, you're all my dear friends. Bandhu, param bandhugon, very dear, very intimate. Dearest friends, param bandhugon, you're my dearest friends. So that's what your dearest friends means. The people who are prepared to give you real advice when you need it. They're your dearest friends in Vaishnava life. Tomar param bandhugon, Tomar jay bole, whatever you say, Shay amar bachon, that's what I will do. So he accepts, and he immediately decides that, I'll put him back into school. He doesn't kind of react and kind of to try and defend his position. And he was very serious about it before, but he doesn't have any ego. And the reason why is because they're his param bandhugon, they're his dearest friends, and they're only speaking for his interests. So he accepts what they say. So now Srila Vrindavan Thakur, he begins the 8th chapter of the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda. Bhakta Goshti Shahite Gauranga Jai Jai Shunile Chaitanya Kotar Bhakti Labh Hoy. If you hear this, Shunile Chaitanya Kotar, these descriptions of Lord Chaitanya, Bhakti Labh Hoy, you get devotion. Emoto Gaura Chandra Balla Roshe Bhola Jagya Pavitrer Kal Upashia Milila. So he, at that time, after this incident of the Param Bandhugan advising Jagannath Mishra that you should select a suitable day and then initiate him in the sacred thread. So now that time is called Jagya Pavitrer Kal. Jagya Upavitra Kal, the Jagya Upavitra, the sacred thread that's used the Brahmins are used for performing Jagya. So the Jagya Upavitra Kal, he's only young, he's only 5 years old now. But this is the time for getting awarded the sacred thread, just like our boys in the Gurukul here. They also go through the Jagya Upavitra Kal and receive this when they begin their Vedic studies. It's not actually a like a ISKCON second initiation, which this one is, but it's not all these threads, it's just less threads, but it's called the Jagya Upavitra. And it means that they're formally accepted as a student in the Sampradaya and they can perform Jagya, a Brahmin. So that time had come. Jagya Shutra Putrer Dibarer Misharai Bandhu Bharga Dakiya Anila Nijagor. Bandhu Bharga, all of his relatives and friends, his different kinds of friends, Bandhu Bharga. Dakiya Anila Nijagor, he brought to his own house for the Jagya Shutra Putrer, the Jagya Shutra festival of offering the sacred thread to his son. So all of the Bandhu Bharga, all of the Parama Bandhugan, they came, and then they all took up different responsibilities in the house of Jagannath Mishra. The ladies were Uludhani. I don't know if you ladies in Gaurangadesh do Uludhani, but it's the sound of the Devis in Vaikuntha and Devaloka, the Devagon, Devanadigon. They do this Uludhani, and in Bengal also the Gaudiya Vaishnavis. They also do Uludhani in Bangladesh particularly. So this is the same culture of Chaitanya Bhagavat you'll see in Bangladesh. So the ladies were doing Uludhani and also glorifying the extraordinary qualities of Krishna. And musicians were playing on different instruments like mridanga, shanai, and flute. Brahmins were chanting Vedic hymns, and some Brahmins were orators offering glorification. And this way we see the life of the Brahmins in Navadip to be very joyful. and without electricity, without mobile phones, without internet. They're just having to have musical instruments, mridanga, and glorification, discussion on Vedic mantra. And in this way, a festival was performed. So actually, this is the culture that Srila Prabhupada is teaching us in Krishna consciousness movement. It's interesting that I'm seeing devotees from Gauranga Desh also coming to Navadip Dham here that I knew in Gauranga Desh. And they've come to reside here in Navadip Dham. And I'm also not able to demonstrate ideal Brahminical life in the Holy Dham, but it's nice to endeavor to do that rather than just kind of like get an apartment and kind of like hang out like you did in when you're in the Middle East, but to get land and start something like that, start farming, do the things that are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And, then we can create your own environment. You can have your own, you send your school, or at least you can send your boys to Gurukul. Many of the devotees who come from the Middle East, I know, are sending their boys to Gurukul. Then training them to be a Brahmin and learning how to do these things. That's going to have a tremendous effect on that's what the Holy Dharma is for. And producing that is having a tremendous effect on the planet. It's an entirely spiritual vision, that Gurukul, where they're training Brahmins. That's completely Sankirtan mission training to train a Brahmin and to do these ceremonies for the Sankirtan movement. So that's what we should create that. We should create this type of lifestyle. Not that we just have to generation after generation live in apartments. Now may be a good time to make a step like that because the world is so, everything is changing so rapidly anyway that you can't really find anything that's going to be secure. They're talking about second waves now and coronavirus in India. What's going to happen now? Who knows? We were saying that it could come back worse. Maybe it will. I don't know. But anyway, something like that. Try and do something where you can just actually get free from this lifestyle, completely get a lot of land, get independent, start producing food. Even here in Mayapur this year, I don't want to boast, but I didn't, the first time I've ever done it because I've never traveled, but there was a plot of empty land beside me and I just grew vegetables there. And then I didn't have to buy vegetables for the last 3 months, just, just coming out of the garden. So you could actually maintain all year if you organized it and have your own schools and just create these things. In Mayapur, you can create whatever spiritual offering you want, and it's possible to create in Mayapur. Wouldn't be possible to create in other places, especially something like that, because Mayapur is meant for that. It's on the transcendental level. That's the Leela. It's in such an environment. So if you create like a Gurukul and a forest-like environment with sadhus and babajis in the forest and doing bhajan, and then there grows another deep, you create that, then that's ideal Dham Pash. Because you're absorbing yourself in the mood of the transcendental Leela of the Lord. Jagishutra Doriben Shri Gaura Shundor Shubha Jog Shakal Ailog Shachit Gaur Shubha Jog Shakal. All of the planets were in the auspicious position. Shubha Jog Shakal, all of them in an auspicious position. When Jagishutra Dariben Sri Gaura Shunga, when Sri Gaura Shunga came to accept the sacred thread. Shubha Mashe, Shubha Dine, Shubha Khan Dhari, Dori Len, Jagishutra Gauranga Sri Hari. There's very beautiful poetry here of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Shubha Mashe, in an auspicious month. Shubha Dine, on an auspicious day. Shubha Khan Dhari, in an auspicious moment of the day. Dorilen Jagishutra Gauranga Sri Hari. Dorilen, he accepted the Jagishutra, the sacred thread, Gauranga Sri Hari. Very beautiful. The sacred thread which had adorned the body of the Lord looked so beautiful. It looked like the Ananta Shesh. Ananta Shesh. Ananta Shesh is a 1,000-headed serpent upon whom the universe is resting, and the Lord is resting and lying in the material manifestation. Mahavishnu is lying there on top of Ananta Shesh. Mahavishnu. Yeah, Ananta Shesh. So all those big temples down there in South India, Sri Rangam and Tirupati, no, not Tirupati, Sri Rangam and what's the other one there? Trivandrum, Srirangam. Those. The Lord is lying down. Adikeshav temple. Lord is lying down, reclining on Anantashesh, 1,000-headed serpent, who is glorifying the Lord, and because he has 1,000 mouths, 1,000 tongues, then Ananta Shesh, there's no end to his glorification. It is without finish. Ananta Shesh, his glorification of the Lord. And he also expands us the different paraphernalia to serve the Lord's body, like his clothes, his shoes, chopal, his bed. And in this case, his Jagashutra, his sacred thread, is an expansion of Ananta Shesh. Apurva Brahmana Teja Deki Sharva Gone, not a Gyan Arakeho Nahi Kare Mone. They Apurva Brahmana Teja, when they saw the Brahmana Teja, this transcendental effulgence of the Lord displaying a form like Vamandev, it was they're all thinking that he's not a person, not a Gyan Arkeho Nahi Kare Mone. No one was thinking he's a human being. He must be a divine being, they're thinking, because of the Apurva Brahmana Teja. Apurva Brahmana Teja, because of the spiritual glow around his body. Or so with his sacred thread, and he's just like shaven and like young Gaushundor. Hate Danda, Kande Juli Shri Gaura Shundor, Bikka Kore Prabhu Shabakir Ghor. Hate Danda. In his hand, he's holding a danda. Just here in Mayapur, where again we're talking about the glories of living in such a place like Mayapur, that we have Gurukulis here who they take such a Jagya Pavitra Anustan, and they come to homes like that with in their hand they're holding a stick from a tree. I don't know what if it's a bale tree. So they're begging, and Kande Juli. Juli is like a shoulder bag that's just made of cloth that a traditional sadhu would use. A juli for begging. So Hate Danda carrying a stick, Sri Goshundor, and Dhule Juli around his collar, Kande Juli around his shoulder, his little shoulder bag. Sri Goshundor Bikka Kore, Sri Goshundor Bikka Kore. He's begging Sharva Shabakir Ghor in the homes of all of his Sharva Shebak, his eternal associates and servants. So the people around Navadip to whom Satchidananda is going to beg, they're not ordinary just people on the street, like down there in Chennai or something. He just went around the village. They are all of his eternal servitors. And specifically it mentions that, Vrindavan Thakur mentions that Dvija Patni Rup Dhari Brahmani Rudrani Joto Poti Vrata Muni Barge Grihini. That in the Dvijapatni Rup, in the form of a wife of a Brahmin, Dvijapatni Rup, Brahmani and Rudrani, that's Saraswati Devi and Parvati Devi, the wives of respectively Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. They, Dvijapatni Rup, taking the form of the wives of Navadip Brahmins, were there in the houses to accept this charity, to give charity to Sri Satchidananda. Joto Pratibrata Muni Bhagya Grihini, Joto, all of the Muni Bhagya Grihini, and Srila Vrindavana, Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explains who these Muni Bhagya Grihini, the wives of the great Munis, were. He says they're Aditi, Anushuya, Arundhati, Devahuti, all these great demigoddesses and wives of great sages and Munis. They all appeared here in Navadip as the Dvijapatni Rup, accepting the forms of Navadip Brahmanis. So in this way, these eternal consorts of the Lord, they actually appear to perform his eternal service. And in this case, in the Vatsalya Ras, they're acting and They're like mothers giving charity. So, when the Lord wants to perform Leela as a young Brahmin boy, then some great sevikas and sevaks, they're required to come and participate in that pastime with him. And their whole life is just for that. Some Brahmani in a nearby village to a jog pit, she was living there her whole life, saw Nima a few times, but this to be participating in this Leela was she's serving the Lord in that way. Maybe she's a great demigoddess and she just came whole life just covered over, living, waiting for that moment, because it says here that the wives of great rishis that come and accepted the wives, forms of the Brahmins of Navadip. Prabhu Korin Shri Bamanrup Leela Jibe Udar Lagi Shokal Kela. All of these pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu as Shokal Kela, they are Jiber Udhar Lagi, to deliver the conditioned souls. So just as he's performing these childhood pastimes here of accepting the sacred thread, because it's so divine, because the demigods and the Devota, the demigodesses, they appear in the form of wives of Brahmins of Navadip, because they want to witness and they want to participate in this Lila where the divine Lord of Vaikunta, Adikonda Kotaje, Amrit Shabon, Jai Shishu Rupe Kudagori Narayan, Shurabrinavanas Thakur, he explains that the Lord of Vaikunta, the three lords, Vishnu, Lord Goldhari, the Lord, he's the supreme Lord of Vaikunta and the supreme Lord, or Radha Krishna, he's the same. So this Goldhari, anything he does, you hear about him. Shri Gaudamotu Lila Jar Karne Prabhu Shila. Srila Narottam Das Thakur explains that Shri Gaudamotu Lila, the Modhu, they're like honey, sweet pastimes of Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Shri Gaudamotu Lila Jar Karne Prabhu Shila, those whose ears they enter into. Hridoy Nirmal Palotar, the heart becomes completely purified. So Prabhu is performing this Leela just because we can hear about it. And in that way, the whole universe can be delivered. Jai Jai Shri Baman Rup Gauri Chandra Dan Deho Hridoy Tomar Pada Dandwa. He's praying, please place your lotus seed in my heart. Shri Baman Rup Gaura Chandra, because he looked like Lord Baman Dev, begging from Bali Maharaj, as Mahaprabhu, accepting the form of a young Brahmin boy begging from the homes. And all the ladies were smiling as they were putting whatever they could manage into his bag. Jai Shune Prabhu Jagashutre Grahan Shaipai Chaitanya Chandra Charane Sharan. Chaitanya Chandra Charan is the lotus feet, Chaitanya Chandra lotus feet of the moon, like Chaitanya Chandra, his lotus feet. Sharan, they get shelter there. How do you get that? Jai Shune Prabhu Shutra Jagir Grahan. When those who hear this description of the Lord accepting the sacred thread ceremony, Shaipai Chaitanya Chandra Charane Sharan, they get shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Dev. So we've heard that Nimai has he's accepted the sacred thread, and now he's going to begin his studies he's going to begin going to school with Gangadas Pandit. 1 minute. Ghore Sharva Shastrer Bujiya Shangahita Koshti Maje Prabhu Parite Hoi Luchito. Actually, at home, Sri Gosundar had already mastered so many of the primary objectives of learning for his level. But Goshti Maje means within a community, within a group, Goshti. Together, Maje, with others, with other associates, Goshti Maje. And the company of others, Goshti. Goshti means a fraternity. Goshti Maje, in a fraternity. He had this desire appear in his heart. So Mahaprabhu, he's near in Navadip, and he's He's the Dvijamani, he's the crushed jewel of the Brahmins, and we'll see him display such learning which enchants the minds of all the Brahmins of Navadip. So naturally, when he accepts a teacher, he will accept the most exalted teacher in Navadip, and in that way the Leela is appropriate, because when the Supreme Lord comes to be a student, then naturally his teacher has to be an extremely qualified person and an exalted, liberated, eternal associate of the Lord. Navadipe Ache Oddapok Shiromani Gangadash Pandit Jeheno Shandipani. So Navadipe Ache, the Oddapak Shiromani, the Shiromani. Shiro is the head, Mani is the jewel. He's the jewel on the head of the Navadip Oddapak, of the Shastric professors of Navadip. Gangadash Pandit Jeheno Shandipani, he is Sandipani Muni, that same scholar and qualified professor to whom Krishna and Balaram went in Avantipur in Ujjain, and they learned from the ashram of Sandipani Muni 64 days, all of the sciences and arts. And then they were able to, Krishna and Balaram, they returned the deceased, departed son of Sandipani Muni, his child, his son, which had departed. They brought him back from the abode of Yamaraj as Guru Dakina. So that same Sandipani Muni, he appeared in Navadip as Gangadas Pandit. And now we're hearing about his qualities being described, as he's got, owns so many properties, and he's the CEO of so many companies. They say, Vyakaran Shastrere Kanta Tattavit Tartai Porite Prabhu Shamahit. Vyakaran Shastrere means the Shastras of grammar. Vyakaran Shastrer. Ekanta Tattavit. Ekanta means the ultimate end. Ekanto. Tattavit. Tattavit, the knower of all the truths of Vyakaran Shastra, the Shastras on grammar. This is Jagannath. This is Gangadash Pandit. He's the ultimate of learning. You can imagine the ultimate end of learning on the Shastric grammars. He knows everything about it. Tartai Puriteta Prabhu Shamahit, and the Lord wanted to study under him at his place. So, there's no discussion about that. It's just that Jagannath Mishra, he understood. He just understood that Sri Sachinandan wanted to study under Gangadas Pandit. So he took him along to his hermitage and ashram. Mishra Deki Gangada Ash Shambrame Utila Oilingan Kore Ek Ashone Boshila. And now Vrindavan Thakur, he describes very beautifully how they met. It's very beautiful. It's not like they go in, there's an office, there's a secretary, and take this coupon, you have to wait till your number is called. And everything is so, it makes you feel so under the caged in, especially now after this pandemic. They feel so caged in by the laws and by, not like a free. So here, they act. So that's why we have to have our own environments. You can't really act like this. Mishradeki Gangada Shambrame Utila, when he saw him, he very respectfully stood up, Alingan Kori, and embraced him, Ek Ashone Boshila, and then invited him to sit down in the same ashon, a nice, beautiful ashon where he was giving his classes. We don't have that. We've lost this culture in schools. You should have this. You should have an environment like this where you have learned scholars just available in the forests of Navadip. We should facilitate the creation of such. Yeah. Actually, I have a place in Navadip. If anyone wants to help, we could create such a place, like a school, and teach the Chaitanya Kotha, the Chaitanya Shastras there. And you can come when you're in Navadip, you can come and visit. Here at night, you can hear the Gaudiya Bhajans and discussions on Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charamrita. We have a place down there near Rasamrita Kunj, nearby. Not yet developed, so if you want to help develop it, do it. So got up, embraced him, they sat down on the same ashram and said, Mishra Bali. Jagannath Mishra speaks. Mishra Bali, Putra, Amidilan Tamashtane. Jagannath Mishra says, I've given you my son. Tamashtane to you. You teach him everything, you tell him everything. Gangadash bole, boro bhagya se amar, boro bhagya se amar. How fortunate I am, Gangadash bole. Gangadash replies. Padai mujata shakti ache amar. However much I'm possible, I will teach him. I'll teach him everything I know. And the way he looked at Nimai, the teacher-student relationship, for those of you who are in our teacher training programs, have a listen to the description of the, I don't know if I ever got around to giving teacher training for Gauranga, but yeah, no, we're always talking about it. So look at the teacher-student relationship developed here. Shishideki Paramananda Gangadash. Gangadash Paramananda. Just by seeing the Shishya is like disciple. Shishideki, seeing his disciple. Paramananda Gangadas. Just by seeing him, you got this supreme bliss. Putra Prai Korira. Nija Rakila Nija Pash. And he kept him close to him just like he was keep his own son. And now, we'll hear so many of the glories of Navadip Chandra, why he's considered, why he's loved by all the Brahmins of Navadip, because of his academic brilliance and his scholarship. And so here the quality has been quality of being able to remember everything, that you remember just by hearing something once. That's a quality that we hear later in his youth when Navadip Chandra is defeating the Digbijay Pandit. Then he mentions that, how are you able to remember that verse? I spoke 100 verses so quickly. And Navadip Chandra replies that just as someone gets the power from the Lord to be able to compose and recite verses like the flowing of the Mahaganga, others get the ability to be able to just by hearing something once, remember it. So I have that. So right here from these early childhood, schooling pastimes as a young child. Joto Baka Gangadash Pandit Korin. Shukrit Shunile Matra Thakur Thoren. Shukrit Shunile Matra. Just by hearing it once, Thakur Thoren, Mahaprabhu was able to capture it and remember it. Joto Byaka Gangadash Pandit Koren. Whatever he taught, whatever he spoke. Just by hearing it once, he could remember it permanently. And so this is incredible. And, it brought the attention of all of the college. No one was able to defeat Nimai. Shahasha Shisha Gore Jota Pore Jota John. There was thousands of thousands. Sahasha Shisha. Thousands of thousands. Dekiya Odbud Budhi Guru Harishte, seeing his amazing intelligence. Gangadash Pandit smiled. And he honored him, Korira Pujito. He honored him with the title of Sarvashisha Shrestha, the best of all the disciples. And this way we can see that the Lord, because he's beginning his pastimes of Vidya Lila, which for many years he maintains and performs, there's Vidya Lila pastimes. And he's covering himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in an earlier verse, Srila Vrindavandas Thakur explains that E mote nana rupe ashadja dekhai balbab prakatiyo paschat lukai. That in this way, nana mote, in various varieties, various different forms, ashadja dekhai, particularly in his childhood form, before he enters this Vidya Lila, he shows many amazing opulences, like when he brings the book for Jagannath Mishra, you can hear the ankle bells, and he manifests and steals the offerings of the Brahmins, and then manifests an 8-armed Ashtabhuj form, which has never been seen before. His opulence is shown. There's thieves that grab him and they steal him away, and they put him down into the courtyard of Jagannath Mishra. So many mystical things. He goes to the Ganga and disturbs the Brahmins and the Kumaris, and they all complain to Jagannath Mishra and to Sachimata. And then he appears before them as though he'd never been to the Ganga, and they're amazed. So in this way, there's so many opulences displayed in the childhood pastimes of the Lord. Aishwarya, his dekai, balbab prakatyo. Balbab prakatyo means that balbab, just like a child, he innocently, like he doesn't think about it. He just likes to play. Another example is him requesting the offerings of Gangadhar, of Jagadish and Haranya, Bhagavat. They were staying across the river in Sarabganj, and he requested their offerings, and they were amazed that he even knew they were cooking special things that day. How, such a young child, how did he know? So they recognized that Gopal was situated in his body. They offered him the unoffered items. You imagine that? We all make a fast song. We offer to the child the unoffered items. They were also convinced that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he displays all of these opulences, and they're just like an innocent child. And then Paschat Lukai, when he gets older and starts studying and becomes a leader amongst the students, then he doesn't manifest his opulence as the Supreme Lord, and he reserves that right up. Then he becomes a devotee also. He's Nimai Pandit. He's a scholar. He's the Dvijamani, the crest jewel of the Brahmins of Navadip, because of his learning. But he's still not a devotee, and he's still not performing Shankirtan. But still, he's loved by all the Navadip Basis. They're still all in. And the Vaishnavas, they're all falling on the bank of Mahaganga, prostrating themselves on the bank of Mahaganga and praying that, please, Mahaganga, be merciful and make Nimai become a devotee. Because such a scholar, they're always being minimized by the smartas and by the materialists. The materialists in Navadip describes, Vrindavandas Thakur describes, they're not like, materialists nowadays, they insult us on Facebook or they throw empty bottles at us or something. But these materialists in Navadip, they would insult the Vaishnavas by writing poetry. Writing poetry, minimizing and ridiculing the Vaishnavas. That's the sort of people that were there in Navadip. Even the rascals and the non-devotees were poets, and they would publish their poems. What a society. And these pastimes of the Lord, in the Vidya-lila, they're very beautiful because he just attracts the minds of all the residents of Navadip, and they're absorbed in him, and then he becomes a Vaishnava. And, the Vaishnavas, they can't believe it. Parama Udbut Kota, Parama Shambhab, Nimai Pandit Hoilo, Parama Vaishnava. It was unbelievable when the news cracked, when Ramai in the morning, all the Vaishnavas were standing around the tree in the house of Srivas Thakur collecting the kunda flowers. They're fragrant. They go into flower many times during the year. This particular kunda tree is flowering constantly in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur at this time. And then all the Vaishnavas would be there. And Sri Ram, he's the younger brother of Srivas Thakur, he appeared and said that he just heard the previous night that Nimai had come back from Gayadam. We went to Gayadam with the devotees from Mathura Desh. We went to Gayadam and discussed Katha. Never had the fortune of going on a yatra with devotees from Gauranga Desh. If you want, we can go somewhere in Gauramandal Bhumi and discuss pastimes of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. You can come to Mayapur and we can have pastimes of Gauranga Desh yatra. We can discuss Navadip Lila and Navadip Dham. Now, we're going to take questions, or if you like, I can carry on and describe another remaining short anecdote about Jagannath Mishra. What should we do? I'll do that.
Yes, sir, you can describe, Prabhuji.
So we're going to 8 o'clock, correct? So. A minute. Oh. Now, at this time, Jagannath Mishra is at home, Satyamata is there, and we'll see that Jagannath Mishra all of a sudden Jagannath Mishra, he sees a dream, has a dream. Daibe ek din shabda deke Mishra bar. Hari she bishad baro hoilo antar. He saw a dream one day, and it gave him both bishad and happiness, lamentation and happiness within his heart. Shapna deki shtava pari dandavad kore, hey Govinda nimai rakup mor gore. Seeing the dream, shtava pari dandavat kore, paying obeisance, he's falling down on the ground. Shtava pari, he's reciting prayers. What's he reciting? Hey Govinda nimai rahuk mor gore. Oh Govinda, you please keep Nimai in my home. So Satyamata, she says, what? Why have you all of a sudden fallen down and offered praise, praying for the benediction of the Lord, Prabhu? Today I have had a dream, replied Jagannath Mishra. He said that in this dream, this is very beautiful now. Srila Vrindavandas Thakur, he'll describe the dream of Jagannath Mishra just before he goes into Antardhan, he disappears. He sees this amazing vision, and it's a nice meditation for us as we're approaching Gaura Purnima, the dream of Jagannath Mishra. So he's describing Adbhut Shannashi Besh Kahane na jai. It's not Kahane na jai. It's not possible to describe his Adbhut Shannashi Besh, his beautiful, extraordinary sannyasi clothes. Hashe Nache Kande Krishna Bole Sharvadai. And all of the time, Krishna Bole, he's chanting the name of Krishna. And Hashe laughing, Nache dancing, Kande crying. Sharvadai, constantly. In sannyasi dress. This is the dream of Jagannath Mishra. Imagine that, have a dream like that, and your own son, and he doesn't know that he's the Supreme Lord, but he sees him, whether in the sannyasi form, crying and revealing the ultimate levels of the love of Godhead, in dancing in Harinam. He sees that in his dream, his son, as a sannyasi. And he doesn't know who these people. All these people are the residents of Navadip. They're all respectable people in Navadip. He sees them. At this time, Satyanandan is still only maybe 6 or 7 years old. But he sees in the dream that he's a sannyasi, and he's surrounded by Advaita Acharya Adi Jota Bhaktagan, Nimai Bedi Ye Shab Karen Kirtan, Advaita Acharya Adi, beginning by Advaita Acharya, Jota Bhaktagan, and all of the other devotees. They're all Nimai Bedi Ye Shab, they're all surrounding Nimai in all directions, doing kirtan, chanting the holy name. So this is a pretty amazing dream that Jagannath Mishra is having. And also it is just in such a mystical way, Srila Vrindavandas Thakur is explaining to us, revealing to us what is the Juga Dharma, why the Lord appears. Because he's just seeing these essential things in the dream. This is like essential aspects of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, what he sees in the dream. First of all, he sees that they're all doing, chanting the holy name of the Lord, and he's a renounced sannyasi. They're worshipping him. Kokano nimai bashe Vishnu kotai charan tuliya deho shabai matai. And then sometimes he saw him sitting on the throne of Lord Vishnu in the dream, putting his lotus feet on the heads of all the devotees. So that's pretty amazing. So he worshipped Gauranga. And in the crowd, they've all come to worship him. There's such exalted persons are present there. Jagannath Mishra is saying that Chaturamukh, Panchamukh, Sahasrabadan, Shavai Gayan, Jai Shri Shachinandan. Shavai Gayan, they're all singing Jai Shri Shachinandan. And who's singing? Chaturmukh is Lord Brahma, Panchamukh is Lord Shiva, Sahasrabadan, these thousand-mouthed Anantashish. They're all together chanting Jai Shachinandan in this dream. Now, is that a dream of extreme, high, visionary, intoxicated love of Godhead state? You're saying, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Ananda Shesh, you're chanting Jai Sachinandan, worshipping your son. Maha Anande Chaturdike Shavai Shtuti Kore. Maha Anande. In unlimited bliss, Chaturdike in all directions. Shavai Shtuti Kore. They're all glorifying the Lord. Stuti, they're all offering prayers of glorification. Dekiya Amara Bhaye Bhakyana Hishpure. Everyone is glorifying the Lord and doing kirtan. But seeing this, Dekiya Amar Bhaye, this the fear that I felt, Bhakyana Nahishpure, I couldn't say anything. So everyone is glorifying the Lord, offering prayers, doing kirtan in the dream. He's standing there looking at this completely dumbstruck. And he can't say anything. Then he sees Kotokone Deki, sometimes he sees Koti Koti Lok Loi. Koti Koti. Millions and millions of people. Koti Koti. Koti. Crores and crores of people. Loi, taking them. Nimai Bulen. Nimai Bulen Proti Nogode Nachai. He wanders through all of the villages dancing with millions and millions of people he sees in the dream. Chaturdik Shunimatra Nimai Shtuti. In all directions, I can only hear glorification of Nimai. Nilachal Jai Sharavaktir Shamati. I see him going to Nilachal Dham, Jagannath Puri, with surrounded by devotees, all glorifying him, chanting his glories. Shapnadeki Chintapai Sharvatai. Seeing this dream, he says that Chintapai Sharvatai. I'm constantly in anxiety. That wouldn't you be that he's going to leave home? He's going to become a sannyasi and leave home. I mean, seeing a dream like that. I mean, what is this? What are we hearing here? What an experience! He has a dream like that, which is so much the vision of the Sankirtan movement. And then he's thinking, oh, he sees this, and he's in constant anxiety. Nima is going to leave home. So that's Jagannath Mishra. And Sachimata says that, oh, it was just a dream. Don't worry about it. It was just a dream. Henomote Gododen Taki Mishravar Antardan Hoilo Nita Shudduk Koleva. And then he stayed a few days. Henomoto Din a few days. Tak Mishravar, he stayed in the world. But he was in constant anxiety. Seeing this dream, it just completely turned him crazy. Constantly anxiety. Nima was going to leave home. It was just unbearable. Antardan Hoilo. He just disappeared. In other words, he just gave up his body. Antardan and entered the eternal realm. Srila Shridhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that he entered his spirit. The body of Jagannath Mishra is spiritual, and he just in that same body he just returned to the transcendental Leela, Navadip Leela. So Hanumote, Navadipe, Viprashishu Rupe, Viprashishu Rupe. Okay with anything, Prabhu? Oh, yeah. Vishwarup Shishuru, Navadipe, Vishwarup Shishu, Viprashishu Rupe, Navadipe. In this way, Navadipe, Viprashishu Rupe, in the form of a young Brahmin boy. Achen Vaikuntanath, son of Habshuke. In this way, he's arranging his own pastimes and enjoying his own as a Brahmin child in Navadip Dham. So in this way, we discussed this evening the sacred thread or ceremony of Sri Sachinandan and his beginning studies as a school of Gangadas Pandit, and then the departure of Sri Jagannath Mishra. So there's a few minutes left. If there's any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danda Pranam.
Yeah, you can ask the question.
Yeah,
There is a question from Radhasaki Mataji. Radhasaki Mataji, can you
Hi, Krishna
unmute?
Prabhu.
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. So I had a question regarding cleanliness. You spoke about Nimai Pandit's pastime with Sachimata, where he sat on a pile of unclean pots. And so could you explain to, share standard of cleanliness that are supposed to be followed by grihastha, especially when they're, worshipping deities? General standards of cleanliness and standard of cleanliness to be maintained while worshipping deities. Prabhu, were you able to hear?
Just a second, Prabhu's just, he'll join.
Sure.
Tatasaki Mataji, can you lead the chanting till Prabhu joins?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay.
Did you not hear anything that I said?
Yeah, Tatasaki Mataji, can you repeat your question?
No, I got. I'm sorry. I thought you were listening, but I'll carry on. I'm sorry about that. Cleanliness is very important in spiritual life. Like, if you can maintain the standards that are being mentioned here are really standards of a temple, like an ISKCON temple. Like I joined in a temple in Melbourne. They're deities that are installed by Prabhupada. Like these big temples, you have Juhu and Mayapur and Vrindavan. They're all temples that were installed by Prabhupada. Los Angeles, Nairobi, Bhaktivinoda Manor, and the standard of worship is so high. I joined in a temple like that, stayed there for 10 years, so we were able to get trained in the principles of GDY, and cleanliness was one of the most fundamental principles. You have to have clean cloth. You take bath, put on clean cloth, go in to cook something in the kitchen. You clean the kitchen before you begin. Then you cook it and then offer it, and then clean the kitchen when you're finished. Like cleanliness was just so fundamental. The standard was clean. Everything was clean all the time. And in the altar, everything is changed every day. They're all cleaned and things like that. Now it's hard to maintain that at home, especially if you've got kids. I mean, cleaning the puja material every day. Well, technically speaking, it's not clean altar the next day. But so at home you can't really. I mean, some homes, I'm fortunate to have a wife who's trained in these cleanliness standards from her birth, and we don't have kids, and she's just completely cleans all the paraphernalia every day. It's just like a temple standard. That has such a powerful effect on my consciousness because I'm able to take this prasadam. Lord Hari is definitely attracted to cleanliness. And if you can keep the place so clean, and cleaning all the arti trays and all the archaman cups, everything every day. And the Lord is just attracted to cleanliness. So you offer the prayers, the mantras are very powerful. So Brahminical life can be so powerful. But like we say, for household life, what can you do? Chant Hare Krishna, do some preaching, because they're more important things that they'll get you a lot more mercy, a lot quicker, chanting nicely and hearing and doing preaching. But if you can do deity worship, then try and maintain it as best as you can. Very powerful. Don't just do it externally. Try and do it to really develop the presence of the Lord. I mean, I can't believe these Bengali devotees, Gaura hoite Bhaktagon. Here I just went up on the road and I know these devotees, they're Mayapur devotees, Bengalis, and they set up a temple there. It's a little cottage, and there's Radha Krishna and Mahaprabhu deities, and they worship the full thing. This is Brahmin, the devotees, they're like a temple, and they're having a program, and they're just building a temple. These people, they can create the Lord through the way they worship you. They worship with Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna. They just have the nature of worshiping the deity. And so that's so wonderful if you have that inclination. There's Archana City, you can get love of God by dedicating your life and creating a temple of the Lord. It creates such a spiritual atmosphere. So the Lord's so pleased by the devotees who create a deity and worship him in his deity form. So we're up to the end of the time. Shall we conclude now?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Oh, sorry. Can't hear. Shall we conclude now? Is that come to the end of the time?
Yes, Prabhuji. One more question, if time permits, Prabhuji, if there is any. Is there any other questions? Is there any other questions? Because Prabhu already, now the time is 8.
Okay, so let's conclude. Thank you. Oh, there's a hand up.
Prabhuji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
I think Dinesh Prabhu has a question.
Prabhu already left actually. He's already 8 actually. So sorry. Prabhu, next time we will definitely ask. Thank you all. Now we have the Santyarthi. Rathikapati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Adala Pranam.
Yes, please allocate the devotees to come forward.
Sir, yeah, Prabhu is ready. Seva Parayana Prabhu.
Okay. Who is going to sing?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanod Pranam Prabhu. Satyajit Prabhu.
Okay,
Ready
please.
Prabhu. I am with Madana Mohan Prabhu now.
Okay, please start Prabhu.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. शिव जय जय गौरा चांदेर आरती च शोभा शिव जय जय गौरा चांदेर आरती च शोभा तथा वाणी जगमान लोबा जगमान लोबा दकीने नेताय चांदे बामे गादारा दकीने नेताय चांद बामे गादारा निकेतेय द्वैत सिनी वास छात्रधारा देह द्वैत वास छत्रधारा घोषी अचे गौरा चांद प्रश्न सिंहासनी घोषी अचे गौरा चांद रत्ना सिंहासनी आरती गोरे न ब्रह्म आदि देव गाने आरती करे न ब्रह्म आदि देव गाने हर हरि आदि कोरी चमर दुलाया हर हरि आदि कोरी चमर दुलाया संजय मुकुंद बसु गोसादि गाया संजय मुकुंद बसु गोसादि गाया संगा बाजे गंडा बाजे बाजे संगा बाजे गंडा बाजे बाजे करताला संगा बाजे गंडा बाजे 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 संगा बाजे गंडा बाजे बाजे करताला मधुर मधुर मेरे संगा बाजे परम रसाला मधुर मृदंग बाजे परम रसाला मधु कोटि चंद्र जीनी वदन उज्ज्वला मधु कोटि चंद्र जीनी वदन उज्ज्वला माला देशे बाणा माला कोरे जाल माला माला देशे बाणा माला कोरे जाल माला शिव सुख नारद प्रेमे गाद गाद शिवा सुख नारद प्रेमे गाद गाद भक्ति विनोद देखे गोरोर संवाद भक्ति विनोद देखे गौर संवाद गौरांगेरा रतिक शोभा जग जान मानवाला गौरांगे रतिक शोभा जग जान मान लोभा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने कृष्ण प्रसाय बोधने श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्देशतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शून्यवादे पापतजतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परिवराचार्य स्तोत्र सरिचंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन पौंडराचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परिवराचार्य स्तोत्र भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय मथुरा धाम की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय नवदीप धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी देवी की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय हरिनाम संगीतनम की जय All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada, Jai Sri Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Now we are going to do the Narsingarati. Akshaya, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. नरसिम्हा की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, गौर सीतनाथ प्रेमानंद जी हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Akshaya. Thank you, others, for your wonderful kirtan. Thank you so much. So, thank you all for joining with us. Okay, we have few prayer announcements, and we will have some more announcements also. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for joining with us. And we have Gaura Purnima Mahotsava on 28th of this month, that is Sunday. So we will do the announcements a little later. We need prayers as we are every week. We are prayer requests from all the devotees for His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj well-being and good health. And also we need prayers from all of you for His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami Maharaj. Just now I got the message that Maharaj